Now, if you can only sell stocks, then those stocks only go down. It's really heartbreaking, and I think it should be illegal to change the rules this dramatically, even if it's somewhere in the fine print. So what I do not get is if these stocks that all the experts keep saying are fated to fail, why did Wall Street have to panic? They didn't just, put a finger on the scale, folks. They removed it altogether. I think it's a terrible day for the establishment that has spent the entire week calling individual investors dumb money, and then they changed the rules in an attempt to assassinate those newfound freedoms of those so-called dumb money investors. By the way, this movement began during a period of turmoil. It's not going to end overnight. It's going to continue. For more on this short squeeze saga, I want to bring in Keith Fitzgerald, David Dietze, and Eddie Gabor. Guys, a lot to unpack here. Keith, I want to start with you. Overall, your thoughts on this saga, how these brokerage firms have deliberately destroyed their own investors by only allowing them to sell certain stocks. By the way, after luring them with free stocks and goodies and all these promises, they stabbed them in the back just when they needed them most.
Yeah, they did. I think it's a coward's move. It's disgusting. If they want to play the game all the way, let's play the game all the way. My orders were, in fact, rejected yesterday on GameStop, too. So I'm part of this. I'm madder than you know what. They made money at the expense of individual investors for years, billions. Regulators looked the other way. We were told that's how the system worked. And now that the table's reversed, the shoe's on the other foot, they're taking their toys out of the sandbox like a spoiled 5-year-old. I think it's absolutely disgusting what they're pulling today. So to me, I think good on the individual investors for doing this. I think there is one cautionary tale, though, Charles, and it's now that they've poked the hedge funds, they're going to fight back. And I wouldn't want to be within a country mile when that happens.
Eddie, your thoughts?
I agree with Keith. And look, I think what happened today is they just added fuel to the fire between this battle between retail investors and hedge funds. And I think they're underestimating the power of this movement. Look, these retail investors are not going away. If anything, I expect this to fuel that fire and for it to grow. And I expect them to jump right back in when they're able to trade. So I don't understand why we are not welcoming these new investors into the market. This is what we want them doing, thinking like entrepreneurs. Exactly. There's going to be winners and losers. That's capitalism. So I don't know what the problem is. And at the end, I hope the retailers win.
Guys, think about this. 20 years ago, GE, the most valuable company in the world, in the entire world, every investor professional, every talking head in financial media said you must own this stock in your 401k, around $50. It's languishing around $12 now. If you're looking out for the little guy, let him and her go out there and do this. Hey, David, I want to go to you, but first, I got to give you props, my man, because I was doing these segments about short squeezes for 2 or 3 weeks, long before anybody was talking about it. I was asking a lot of guests for their thoughts. Most of my guests actually didn't have a short squeeze candidate. You said AMC. It is a bona fide grand slam. So I just want your thoughts on what's happening right now, this pullback, and then to Eddie's point, maybe these investors reload anyway.
Well, so it's a really interesting situation. Certainly, I think it's a very valid tool in the investor toolbox to look for those most shorted stocks. Why? Because eventually those short sellers have to buy it back. That could be some fuel. And of course, with all the short selling, often the price is below intrinsic value. So I've always looked at that as a way, as a screen. It's not the only way to buy a stock, and that's why we own AMC and done very well with that.
Oh,
Having
okay.
said,
No, you were coming in muffled at first. You sound like a drunk Muppet, but now I got you.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to push back on my fellow esteemed panelists insofar as, unfortunately, it's not truly a free market. You've got these Massachusetts regulators who are already picking a fight with Robin Hood and so forth. And, you got all these lawyers who are just ready to come to the assistance of these people that said, no one told me that GameStop was too expensive. Why did my broker take my order? It's a little bit like a bar. Yeah. I know you're over 21, you've had 10 drinks, but if the bartender says that's enough for you, I have to back them up there.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's talk about the broader market then for a moment, guys, because you know what? Taking off big time today after some knee-jerk selling and these big names that posted great results. And I'm not surprised that happened, but this move in of itself is pretty humongous, Eddie. I mean, what's driving this?
Look, I think the good news from a broad market perspective is fundamentals is what's driving this. Yesterday was a gift. We are in a bull market, in my opinion, and when the VIX spiked the way that it did, it's a great buying opportunity. And as you look over the next 2 quarters, in my opinion, we're going to have huge profits. because of how low expenses are in corporations. That's going to surprise to the upside. And we have a consumer sitting on record amounts of cash due to the savings rates that's going to flow in with the pent-up demand that we have. So I don't know how you can short this market going into the next 2 quarters where we're going to have huge GDP numbers, huge profits, and a consumer that's got cash burning in their pocket.
Keith, before I go to you, one thing that is happening that's pretty interesting here, and I saw it a lot on my Twitter feed over the last 24 hours. A lot of people on both sides of the aisle, all political persuasions believe that there's something wrong with this. In fact, we have tweets from AOC and her nemesis from across the aisle, Ted Cruz, and essentially they're saying the same thing. Why did you change the game? The 10-drink analogy notwithstanding, this is not right. You can't lure folks in, tell them to make their own adult decisions, and then put them in a position. This is not cutting off their drinks. This is saying, hey, I'm going to put you in the car after you've had 10 drinks, but I'm going to remove the brakes. So what do you make of that, Keith?
Well, again, it's very hard to argue one way or the other because very clearly they're changing the rules of the game after it started. That's never a winning equation. If you're going to have free markets, have free markets. If you're going to have adult supervision, have adult supervision. But let's be very clear about this. You don't have adult supervision that is at your discretion. What you have is an educated consumer. So if there's a failure here on Wall Street's part, it's rigging the system for so long and not giving the individuals adequate information, adequate knowledge. Enron was a great buy all the way down into the dumpster.
Yeah.
And that was traditional Wall Street talking. Same kind of thing with GE. Individual investors are big people, big boys and girls. If you give them the tools, the knowledge, and the education, guess what? They're going to make dang good decisions, and I'm going to stand with them every day.
I feel like one of you guys tweeted out, there goes the efficient market hypothesis, which, by the way,
that was gone a long time ago.
Yeah, it was gone a long time ago. David, here's the thing. The notion that that information is out there and the markets are efficient, we know that's not true because there's no way a company could report news and a stock would go up 20, 30%. There's no way that was built in. But the information is out there. It's easy to find. It's easy to do. So I think this sort of backhanded diss of the retail investor, the dumb money, I think this Wall Street arrogance is this is the comeuppance. This is the beginning of a long time coming comeuppance for traditional Wall Street that think they know everything and everybody else is just too dumb.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what's going on. Basically, with social media, with these message boards, the information is disseminated almost instantly. And of course, we've got brokerage platforms, which make it a lot easier. Commissions have gone to zero. So it really does allow the little guy to get in there. And I mean, my son's now giving me advice and so forth. So, I love the fact that a whole new generation is getting engaged, getting involved and studying things. Of course, a lot depends on what your time frame is. I like to at least have a month time frame. For those who are investing for a day, maybe buying more GameStop is the best thing going.
I got a feeling this is not the end of the GameStop rally up. And these folks out there will find another platform, someone that really, truly believes that they're adults that can make their own decisions and understand their own risk. Keith, Eddie, David, I couldn't think of 3 better guys to start this segment with. Thank you all very much.